Hello, this is the side by side I went and got. It is a 2012 Polaris RZR 900 XP. So it's the one with the overhead cams. You can see here it's kind of dirty. It's been sitting outside under a tree for about 8 months. So the seller said it sounds like it needs crank or rod bearings. I'm really hoping it's the rod bearings. He said he tried to get it to run and it makes a squeaking noise whenever it turns over on the starter. He couldn't actually get it to turn over whenever I was there, so I haven't actually heard it turn over yet. So the battery is dead. I already have another battery, so I'm going to go ahead and swap that out real quick. I don't know what this accessory is. Not sure. Oh, this is going to be heavy. Jeez. Alright. Okay, this is kind of insane how this is in here. So I'm turning the key on for the first time, and as you can see, this fuel pump's leaking pretty bad. So I already got another one. I'm going to go ahead and replace it real quick. As you can see, this entire thing's spring loaded, and that's how it actually seals. It pushes up against the top. The fuel pump's building pressure and holding, so that's fixed. So now I have power to the ignition, but I don't have power to the starter whenever I hit the key. So I'm pretty sure it's just a solenoid. That's the reason why it's just clicking. But if you look over here, you can see the previous owner was banging on the starter pretty hard, trying to get it to work. So I went ahead and ordered a new starter and solenoid. I'm going to just go ahead and swap those out. So I did a compression test on each cylinder, and they're both right at 120 psi, which is not bad. I don't know what they're supposed to be, but that's definitely enough to run. I couldn't actually get it to run, but it's making a really horrendous screeching noise like the previous owner said. So I'm just going to go ahead and start tearing it down. Bro, it's like the whole nature channel's going on right now. This is like a giant ant trying to get the spider's eggs. I mean, the spider's just chilling. But this ant is going through it, dude. Look at it. He's got to be so dizzy. He wants it so bad, bro. He is going for it. Look at it. Dude is moving. Oh, he almost got it. Stuff that happens in the shop. Sits on this bracket and sits on the outside of the, this sticks to the outside of the fender. These, as you can see. And then there's another one on the other side for the belt box. Comes in from the top, on the other side of the bed. Goes down, goes around, comes in, and then blows down right there. As you can see, it's just a flathead. There, there, there. And then you gotta take these brackets off, here, 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 here. They're just Allens. And then that'll allow you to take this beam off, which then I can take this stuff off. Which all I have to do is take these two bolts out, unplug this, and then this whole thing can come off. Now you can see the belt box a lot clearer. See all these lines running down. Next thing is to get the intake off. I'm gonna try to get in here and just pull it up off of the actual main clamps in there and just pull this whole thing off as one unit. One main one here holds the main box on, and then you got two clamps down here that hold to the back of the throttle body, and then the throttle body is held on to the actual head with those boots there, the ones I'm going to just try and take off first. But before I do that, fuel lines need to come off. Now all that's attached is this one throttle body line, which is fine because I'm leaving the throttle body on. Throttle position sensor. And now this should just pop right off. We're gonna use a crowbar. We're gonna use a crowbar because it's probably the most efficient way. If you're ever dealing with carburetors or anything like that, the easiest way I found is to use a pry bar. Maybe not. Now I got the intake cleared. There is a water temp sensor right here. You can see it. That guy's got to come unplugged, and then you got your battery starter wire that's got to come unplugged, and then right behind it on the starter you got a ground wire. I'm going to take those off. I'm going to take this radiator hose off because it has to come off. Then I'll go ahead and take the exhaust off. Next is the starter wire. Seats are super easy to remove. There's just a little handle right here in the back. Probably see. Just pull it up. The whole seat comes up. And the whole thing comes out. Now all that's left is to get this belt box off, get the clutch off, goat cover. That'll allow me to get to these rear motor mounts back here. And then I'll have to pull the front motor mounts and the engine should just come right out. There's 9-10 millimeters holding this belt box on all the way around it. So this is my plan here. I'm gonna use a swivel on my impact to try and get that bolt off, because you can tell it's directly behind the shock and I'm trying to avoid taking the shock off. So I'm gonna use the swivel to get around it and hopefully it works. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull the shock either way. Alright, so I just want this shock to just disappear. Alright, now we can actually get to the clutch, the good stuff. Pull this guy out. Now, yeah, I'm gonna have to use that puller. Now, in order to get this clutch off, you're gonna need a specific clutch puller for this machine. This is the clutch puller that is made for it. Now, in my opinion, this is absolutely excessive. For reference, this is what a normal size puller looks like. This is for my Kawasaki Brute Force. And look at the size comparison. I mean, that is insane. Why? Like, why is it so big? That's crazy. But anyway, you just put it in there, turn it clockwise. Bottoms out. Before we take that one off, we're going to take this one off. Now this is a lot bigger, it's a 1-inch. And remember, you're going clockwise, so you're tightening. That's it. Now there's just 6 10mm. 3 on the engine side, 3 on the clutch or on the transmission side. And then this whole box will come off, which will allow me to get to the engine mounts. I was wrong. There's actually 7 bolts. There's one hiding down here. But there we go. Now that that's off. Now, as you can see, I can get to my engine mounts here, which is this and this. There's also 2 on the other side, and then there's 4, 2 on each side, 1, 2 right there, and 1, 2 on the other side. And that's all the engine mounts that's holding this thing in. I got to get this ground off, and that's pretty much the only other thing connected to the engine. There we go. Now that's off. All that's really connected to it now is this plug right here. It's the main plug. Just pull that guy off. Now it's just those 4 motor mounts in the front and those 4 in the back, and she can come right out. Alright, so I got the hoist wheeled over here. Got the strap on the motor.
I'm actually just using the cylinder holding plate, putting it on the 2 exhaust studs, and that's how I'm lifting it here. And then on the other side, I just made a loop around the thermostat housing. Everything's disconnected. All I gotta do is pull those motor mounts. This crank sensor needs to be unplugged. These are the front motor mounts, as you can see. Just gonna pop those off. Now that those are off, they should just pop right out. Oh no. Should just pull out. Now the engine's free. Now we should be able to just pull it up the hoist. There. There's all out now. Nothing. Engine on the stand. Got the engine on the stand. Just kind of jerry-rigged it up. You can see I just used a few nuts and bolts as spacers. Just went into the main engine mount. Just made these little brackets out of angle iron. Just made 4 or 3 of those and just bolted them in. We'll go ahead and get this cover off. Just 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. So the rain really ruined the audio here. I'm just gonna go ahead and voice it over so it doesn't get a little too boring. So as you can see, I got the cam cover off here. Got it up to top dead center. Had to use the clutch, obviously. You see the lobes are facing the right way. The tensioner off. Oh, that rain is loud. These cams are actually pretty cool. They're both the exact same, but they have different timing marks for the intake and the exhaust. Right here I'm trying to make sure which cam goes into what and what cap goes on which cam because they're worn down. So I want to make sure that the ones that were wearing in certain spots are wearing in the same spots when I put it back together. Now I'm just disconnecting all the small stuff. This is the coolant line that loops around, head bolts.
If y'all don't believe me, I'll let y'all listen to the rain real quick.
Now the 6 head bolts. There we go. Got all the bolts up.
You kind of see them. Just pulling the head off. So I took a good look. You see the cylinder walls are pretty scored. It looks scored, but it's actually just the black coating that's off the piston. You can see the hash marks actually go over it. You can catch it with your fingernail, so it's actually, the cylinders are actually fine. Getting it flipped over now, using the cylinder holding plate. Back to the rain.
And use a pry bar. See these little tabs?
So the reason why it looks darker and lighter is actually I'm using 2 different cameras. One of my cameras is super dark. You see a little bit of metal in the sump. You can see the rod bearings are absolutely smoked on the crank. They're like paper thin. You can see them over there. The main bearings were fine though. It was just the rod bearings. Pistons, pretty worn. They weren't bad. They're pretty bad. I gotta say they're pretty bad. You can see the case here sitting up. It's the other half. See the bearings in there look fine. So now that I got all that apart, I'm pulling the front diff out. It had a little bit of play in the axle, so I want to rebuild it. You got to take that little pin off the drive shaft. It's kind of tough. So this is the four-wheel drive switch, the front diff. Obviously it has to come unplugged. It's just 4 bolts on the bottom and that 1 pin holding the drive shaft on, and it comes right off. Plus the plug. See how much play these axles have in them. I'm pretty sure it's the ring gear inside the transmission, plus the axles are really worn out. It's kind of crazy, it looks so bare. So to get these axles out, you gotta pull. Yeah, you can see this axle broke. Luckily this one doesn't have turf mode, so it's actually, the ring gear is one solid piece. So as you can see here, you can actually knock it out the other side. It's no big deal. Here, never been in a front diff on a 900 XP before. You can see this plastic retainer, which actually engages your four-wheel drive. So this is all new territory for me.
Bearings in there.
That's the actual ring gear there that turns. That's the ring gear. That is what's connected to the drive shaft, as you can see here. So you just gotta, it's actually pretty crazy. You actually have to screw in a self-tapper and use a hammer to pry this seal out. Like, that's pretty much the way I was shown to do it. And then there's just 2 snap rings, as you can see here. They hold this one bearing in, and the whole thing slides out. So you can hear this bearing had a little bit of wear. You can hear it whining kind of bad. So I'm glad I took it out and replaced it. So I got all the old parts out, and I got all the new parts in.
This is me just pressing the bearings off, pressing the bearings back on. These are for the actual hubs that sit on the axles. Starting to get back together with it now. Snap rings back in. Next is the seal. And then put the ring gear in. So now you can see the whole thing turns, but if you look where the axle is actually, see the little piece in the middle, that's what the axle is actually sitting in. So it's not actually engaged until you put the clutch, the plastic clutch and cover on. You can see that wire goes in, it has that little actuator that engages it. And that's the front diff. It's pretty simple. Just replace the bearings and seals. See the new seals inside. I videoed this because it was just my luck. As soon as I come in there, both the main lights in the corner of the shop I was working in just didn't work. Unbelievable. I was upset. But here I'm pulling the hubs off because I did do all 4 wheel bearings. I only showed one here, but I did all 4. I also got all 4 brand new axles for it.
You can see there's 4 bolts holding it on. 1, 2, 3, and then 4 on the opposite side. They all have nuts on the back. So you pull that off, this whole hub comes off. You got to remove your brake caliper, which is just 2 bolts here and at the bottom. And from there,
So again, this is all brand new territory for me. I've never been in one of these before. Just kind of figuring it out as I go. You see a little circlip in there? It's actually funny. I do this first try on the video, but this take actually took me at least like 15 or 20 times just to get it off. I kind of wish I would have put them all in there because it would have been hilarious, but so now I can just press it out. Just using a bearing press kit. It's a pretty generic kit. So it doesn't look like it. This video is actually fast forward. It's sped up a lot, but it looks like I'm just doing it really fast. But this actually took a long time to get this bearing out. So old bearing out. Now I'm just cleaning up the surface really good for it to receive the new bearing. It's always kind of scary using the press, but it's pretty easy to tell when something bottoms out. You'll probably be able to tell in the video. Again, this is also sped up. Doesn't look like it, but it is.
moment because it looks like I'm kind of just doing it confidently, but I'm really just like, please don't break, bang, please don't break, bang. As you can see now, it's not going anymore, so it's bottomed out. Now I just got to put the retaining clip back in. And that's pretty much done of the teardown. So now I'm just waiting on parts. Seen the axles. I got to get the rebuild kit in for the engine before I start putting it back together. That'll be in the next video. I was struggling with that. Jeez. Yeah, this was all first. Kind of looks sad right now being all torn apart. Poor thing. It's like nothing left in there. You can see the play here now. The wobble in the axle. I'm pretty sure it's just the axles are really worn out, so I'm gonna get a new set of axles and see if it fixes the play. So you can see I got the new axles in. Check it out now. Zero play. The other side was really bad. Now look. None. I thought that was weird. So that's pretty much the end of the video. In the next video, I'll actually start assembling the engine, getting everything put back together and first start, ride it. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you liked this one. If you did, please leave me a like. It tells me what you like to see and what you don't like to see. I will have a lot more variety on the channel in the future. Thank you. Peace.